How's everybody doing tonight? All right. Has anyone ever been to an SPO banquet before this year? Can you raise your hand if you've been to an SPO banquet? Awesome. I'm really sorry. I didn't know that this was an option. I didn't know that we could have this much fun, have this kind of cool ambiance. I don't even remember the name of the place we were before, but they're dead to us. Omni Theater for life. This is where we are. We're excited to be here. All right, so without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our musical guest for the evening, local recording Christian artist, Luke Spihar.
And when my doubts feel as tall as the walls of Jericho, well, I hear your words calling out, you say, to be strong and courageous. Fear not the lights or the giants of the land. Yes, be strong and courageous. Oh, for I will be with you wherever you go.
All right, well, tonight we are in a room that is filled. Yeah, thank you. Give it up for rooms, right? All right. Somebody's a little excited. I'm going to need you to simmer down, all right? This is going to be a long night if you keep doing that. So, just kidding. All right, so we're blessed to be in an archdiocese and in a room that's filled with so many strong Catholic and transformational leaders. But yeah, all right. Thank you. One more. All right. Yeah, okay. I get it. There's a storm coming together. You hear us? Momentum. But we are blessed to be led by an equally as transformative and equally as spiritual leader as Archbishop Bernard Hebda. So please join me in welcoming up our first special guest of the night, Archbishop Hebda. Archbishop, here we are. Welcome to SPO Live. It's our first ever. You are the first guest. How does it feel?
I'm pretty excited, Josiah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you answered my call, to invite you to come up here.
That's the great thing about caller ID.
Yeah, you knew it was me. That's amazing. Okay. So, Archbishop Hebda, it's an honor to interview you. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. I don't know all of the right things to say to an archbishop all the time. So if at any point I need to
We can talk about the
afterwards. Thank you.
Talk about the nutcracker.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah. All right, great. So correct me if I'm wrong here. These are just notes that I've gotten from other sources. So if these are wrong, it's because I have bad intel. But before you were the archbishop of this archdiocese, you were a bishop in Newark, New Jersey. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, great. Yeah, all right. During that time, you lived in the dorms at Seton Hall. Is that also correct?
I did. The best dorm, Xavier.
The best dorms.
Yes.
Okay, Xavier. Can you tell me why you did that?
Well, I was the coadjutor archbishop.
Okay.
And it's a little bit like the Inquisition. Nobody ever expects a coadjutor. And so they had no place for me to live. Right. And when they gave me some options, one of them was in the priest department in this Xavier Hall. And I had done campus ministry before, earlier on in my priesthood, and so I felt comfortable on campus. And it was really a great experience. The only thing that made me a little bit concerned is there was a listing of the 10 Commandments out in front of my door, and number 3 said, "Thou shalt not emerge from thy room not fully dressed." That was the one I knew I would not violate. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask, why was that alarming? Okay.
I never go anywhere without my cross.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. This question is directed not necessarily at what you just said, but a little bit before. Can you tell me a little bit more about that experience? So Gordy was my wrestling coach. I don't know if anyone knows that.
You want to talk about that tonight?
Yeah. What was your take on my wrestling?
You don't want to know.
Okay, yeah, that's all right. You don't want to know what I thought of you as a coach. So, all right, here we go.
I do have an announcement to make. Bishop Cousins has served on our board of directors for over 20 years. First as Father Cousins, and then for the last 8 years as Bishop Cousins in the role of chair. We had a conversation last fall, and he, with his appointment to the Diocese of Crookston and the leadership role that he has with the U.S. Council for Catholic Bishops, Committee on Evangelization, and the work he's doing with the Eucharistic Congress, he said, Gordy, I'm not going to serve you well in that role. So I called up the Archbishop, and we had a wonderful conversation, and I said, Archbishop, you get to appoint our chair, and I have a recommendation that you appoint yourself. And the Archbishop agreed. He said yes to that. Last week, our board of directors formally elected Archbishop Hebda to be the chair of our national board. And Archbishop, I just want to thank you. We've had a long history in this archdiocese. In fact, I don't think it's accidental that SPO finds its origin in the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis, and we've had wonderful relationship with our bishops and our Catholic community, and we're incredibly blessed, I am, and we as an organization are, that you've said yes to this role at this time, so thank you.
Thank you. I feel honored, and it's really a pleasure to be Bishop Cousins' understudy and now successor. So I'm really happy to have this opportunity. Thanks.
Yeah. Let's give it up one more time for Archbishop Hebda.
For the past 2 decades, SPO has honored a distinguished alumni, donor, and community leader with the St. Paul Evangelization Award. This year, it's our great honor to welcome and to award Bishop Richard Pates with that honor.
And as I hold this beautiful award of St. Paul, the statue of St. Paul, the evangelist, the principal evangelist of our faith, and this brought the name of Jesus to the world, and especially to all of us who follow in his tradition. So I think I am honored because it's being presented to me by Gordon Desmarais. And Gordon, for 37 years, was the founder and also has been the president of the wonderful St. Paul's Outreach, has done remarkable, tremendous leadership in his soft, kind approach to the work he's about. But underneath there's that fire that comes from Christ the Redeemer and all the charismatic renewal that has been so much at the foundation of the work of St. Paul Outreach. And so I'm honored because I'm being honored by him and by all of those who are associated with St. Paul Outreach and who have done so much for these 37 years to make it such a force and such a power within the church itself and being about the mission of evangelization.
Please join me in welcoming up Peter and Rachel, who serve by leading our staff in the Minnesota region.
It's a tough time for a young person. When you leave your parents' home, when you go off to step into the world as a young adult, and you begin to ask some of life's ultimate questions like, who am I, and what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to marry? What's God called me to do? Who created me? Why do I exist? It's a tough time for a young person. And so what we see is there's a lot of confusion there, a lot of turbulence, a lot of up and down in their lives. And not only that, but there's actually like misinformation and disinformation. And people are telling young adults about who they are, and it's not a son and daughter of God. And so we are seeing that on the college campuses. A lot of young people are finding it very difficult to be a Catholic today.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's just so many voices coming at you these days, and it's hard to know which ones are true. And I think one thing we've talked about a lot is we're also seeing the young people, they're seeking truth. I think they're seeking purpose, meaning. They want their life to mean something. They want to be about something bigger than just themselves. And I mean, we're lucky enough to know the Lord and follow him. And we really, believe that following God is like brings the deepest purpose and the deepest meaning to your life. And we see the young people want that. They're hungering after something more than just what they see in front of them. And what we're trying to do is say that faith isn't just for Mass on a Sunday, and it's not just for one event a week, but actually it's supposed to impact your whole life. And it's supposed to be a 24/7 thing. And so our households, we live with students. We don't just talk about faith. We live it with them. And so we pray with them every day. We eat meals together. We socialize. We do small groups. Because we want them to see that there's a way of life you can live where faith is the center of everything that you do.
This is a game that I've played before, and I really enjoy it. I like to think about whether or not something is ugly or whether or not it's cute. So tonight we're going to be playing a game that's called Ugly Baby ? Animal Edition. Don't worry, we're not going to put anybody up there. We're going to put a picture of an adult animal on the screen. And then if you think that as a baby, that animal is cute, you just sit down. That's all you got to do right there. But if you think that that baby is ugly, you stay standing. Does that make sense? All right, this is a barn owl. Yeah, let's give it up for barn owls. People are big fans of the crowd. All right, again, stay standing if you think that a baby barn owl is ugly. We're 2 for 2 on cute, so you know it's coming eventually. I wouldn't recommend sitting down. It's coming. All right, show me baby barn owl. Oh! What is it? Ah! If you stuck with standing up, congratulations. You made it all the way through. That is hideous. All right, get that out of my sight. I'm a millennial. I come from a generation where everyone's a winner. You know, we were thinking about narrowing it down, but there's a lot of people here, and I wasn't sure if we're going to be able to do it. So if you reach under your seats right now, you'll find nothing. There's nothing there. But what we do have is we do have our missionaries coming out who are giving out Gordy DeMarais' book for free. So if the missionaries could come on out and hand out these books. We got Luke Spihar here to perform Be Still, which has over 100 million, just 1 million streams. That would be, both are great. 1 million is still really impressive. I'm sorry I started with a higher number. That's on me. 1 million is very impressive still. Okay, with over 1 million streams, Luke Spihar.
Everywhere I go, I wonder where I'm going. And I wonder if I'm showing everything that must be seen. And it surprises me to know that he answers all my questions just by strongly saying to be still.
Welcome, we're over here. I ran around the entire room to get over to this side, just so you know. Thank you. Well, hey guys, how are you guys doing? It's good to see both of you.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Right, we're back together again. So we are joined by the lovely Sister Teresa Rose. Let's give it up for her. And then as well, the lovely Jaslyn Grammer. Was she a punk?
I would say she was sassy, but in the best way possible.
Okay. That's a very safe answer. Good job. Okay, so how did you get more involved in her life?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Yeah, so during that time, Jaslyn and I started to meet one-on-one with each other, and she would just ask question after question, and we really just started to go deep. Like, she would ask about, what does it look like to have a prayer life? What does it look like to trust God with your life? Talking about what it means to become the woman that God has created us to be.
Really influential for me is, I think, Sister was somebody who gave me a space where she would meet me with understanding and give me space to ask questions and process. And you're so affirming that, I don't know, everything that, when I felt like it was messy, I felt like you were always pointing my eyes upward. And I don't know if you remember this, but there's so many times where I would leave our conversations and she would just look at me and say, I can't wait to see what God's going to do in your life.
Now, the story that we've been kind of telling tonight and the picture we've been trying to paint about maybe what a student experience is through both the lens of some of our missionaries and then also kind of through the lens of a missionary and student who kind of went through it together. It's not really just like a generic SPO story, but I mean, that was kind of my experience too. My parents are in here tonight, and they did an awesome job of raising me and giving me a moral compass to follow. And so I was probably like a lot of college students when I was coming in. I wanted to be a decent person. I'd been raised a certain way. But the world was offering a variety of options to me. And those options seemed like pretty good. I experienced as I started making these decisions about what I was going to do and how I was going to live my life, who I was going to be. It wasn't these like big, massive moments, but there was just these like constant kind of like, well, could it really be that bad? Like, okay, what if I just kind of fudge it a little bit here, right? Or, I mean, that person, they're doing that, and it seems like they're turning out all right. And so kind of slowly, I would just start undermining how I was raised to be and the man that my parents had raised me to be. And I remember it hit a certain point where I realized kind of how far I had fallen. And I remember thinking at that moment that if I like ran into the guy that my parents had raised me to be, I don't think I would have been able to look him in the eye. Like I was ashamed of who I was, and I had this question of like, it was like maybe I wasn't even made to be that guy. That guy felt kind of out of reach, too far away. And there was never this point where I just chose to go there. It was just kind of this slow erosion. But it was at that moment that God broke into my life in a really powerful way. I encountered SPO, and God brought in these guys. Some of you might know them. One of them might actually even be in here tonight. But guys like Joe McClure, a guy like Ryan O'Shaughnessy, Jake Nelson, Ben Schmitz. And these guys poured out their life into me. They would hang out with me. They would have these conversations with me as I was wrestling through different obstacles in my life. And they fought for me. They went the extra mile. It wasn't just like a, hey, how are you after Mass? But they invited me over to their house. They had dinner with me. They played sports with me. They encouraged me. They were there in some of the most pivotal moments of my college career. And the crazy thing is that these guys weren't even missionaries. They were just students. They were guys who had gotten involved in SPO and had been transformed by the people that they'd met there. A few of them were the guys who lived in the house. Ben was an RA in my dorm. That's how I met him. And the Lord did a powerful work in my life just through their witness. So that's the story that we're trying to tell tonight. That's the power that the Lord is showing here in SPO.
You know, making a change to come to this type of a format is a tricky thing. It's a little bit easier to be at a table at this time of the evening. In order to raise enough money for SPO, we have to put on an event like this, and we actually do it at each one of our locations, our major locations around the country. And people just like yourselves have been gathering now, year after year in each of our regions to support the work that's happening in the campuses in their backyard. We've had hundreds and hundreds of donors join us for our banquets, and what we'd like to see happen is Late Night Live actually becomes something that travels around the country. Actually, Josiah is going to travel around the country, and he'll go to each of our regions and do the same show for them.
One more time, let's give it up for Luke Spihar and his band. Take it away.
Well, this has been such an honor and a treat. Thank you all so much for having us. Again, I was on campus at St. Thomas when SPO was doing their great work, 10 years ago, and still it's continuing. It's only growing. So every effort and every contribution tonight is for such a great cause. So thank you. This is a song called America and Me. And after I graduated St. Thomas, I hit the road pursuing a dream to follow music. And I think I wanted to finish tonight with that song to say, you're enabling and empowering people to pursue the dream that God's put in their heart, and you don't know how it'll ripple out even to a room like this. So thank you all so much. Ready? With this restlessness within me, came on down from the branch of my family tree, from the first of them that crossed the sea, from their safe homes to the great unknown, to the fertile lands where seeds were sown, and in my soul those seeds have grown. So I'll go down the road here I roll, and my wheels are spinning wherever the wind is blowing. With all there is to see, I'm as wide-eyed as can be. I'm on the road, just America and me. Yes, I'm on the road, just America and me.